All right, and we are back. Welcome into another episode of Keeping Up with the New York Jets. Today is Thursday, September 5th, the official kickoff of the 2024 NFL season. Alongside Theodore Pristash, I am Blake Pace. We've got final off-season roundup show. We've got a Michael Carter extension to discuss, and we are going to preview the Week 1 season opener for the New York Jets on Monday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. Before I get to all of that and before I bring Theodore in, make sure to follow us on our socials at KUWTNYJ. Teddy is at Teddy Huncho. I am at Spring Blake. Young Theodore.
What up?
There's a tingle in my balls right now, man. I am so amped.
I'm with it. I'm
How
amped.
are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling excited. I mean, just not even about the Jets, like the NFL season as a whole. Day this pod comes out, we get Chiefs Ravens, we
Great
get Eagles Packers the next
Great
day. We're here, and it's one of those things where it never feels quite real until you're actually watching it,
Yeah.
but we do. I mean, whatever you want to say about it, we spend so much time of the year just being excited for this, and here we are in the week that it's finally going to happen. So I'm feeling juiced, and I got to tell you, I mean, the Jets. I watched a Peter Schrager video the other day. I'm sure many of those listening maybe watched it as well. But his message was just like, listen, Jets fans, like, it's okay to just believe and just be hopeful and just hope that you're good and just buy in, and that really got me rolling. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. So yeah, I'm excited to sell.
He also doubled down on the Jets in a big way, saying that Aaron Rodgers was going to be this year's MVP. So I love that from him. Real quick, while you were saying all those games, I just realized the NFL did a banger of a job with these primetime matchups.
Oh, yeah.
I recently put out a video of my top 10 teams in the NFL heading into the season, and the Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday are all 8 of those teams are in my top 10. Like the fact that you get, like you said, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, and Rams on Sunday night is awesome. Eagles, Packers, Jets, 49ers. I mean, that is awesome stuff right there.
Yeah, I feel like I guess the first game, like Thursday night kickoff's usually pretty good. It's usually like, two teams that were in the like Super Bowl champ and then like a conference championship like participant at least, but it does feel like sometimes they kind of blow it with like there was the Broncos Chargers game 2 years ago that I think was Sunday Night Football where like everyone's excited and then you watch and it's just the biggest stinker of a game, which is obviously possible, but it does seem like we got some real solid games coming up for the primetime slots. Gotta wait till Monday night again for the Jets, which god damn it, but it'll be fun.
It will. It's gonna be a great opening week. You know who it's looking like will not participate in week 1 of the NFL season? That is recently acquired Jets edge rusher Haasan Reddick. I'll say, like, we've talked about it so much. I just officially like looked dumb. I was just so sure by now he would have been practicing in the facilities with the organization. He was recently spotted in Jersey City signing autographs for a charity event. Did decline to comment on anything Jets related. Some people did bring some Jets helmets in, and he did sign those. So cool. What are your thoughts on this whole situation and where it's officially come to?
I mean, it's crazy that I think when we resumed the podcast, it was like right before the draft. Like I'm thinking March.
Yeah.
And when we were thinking about like what are the real stories, like this was one of the only ones in those like early episodes that was like an actual tangible important story to the Jets, and the fact that here we are, 3 days before the week 1 game and this is still the number one thing on our sheet is just annoying, I do want the Haasan Reddick thing, like, so yesterday Schefter has like another report and basically not like a report, but just like did like a spot and was basically like, I'd be surprised if this gets done, like it doesn't look like he's going to play week 1. But yesterday, when you're listening on Wednesday, it did seem like Reddick is in New Jersey, which is where he was signing these Jets helmets, and Sauce Gardner, who like first quote tweeted the tweet of that with like a sad face emoji, and then quote tweeted like a happy face emoji. Like I really this morning when I woke up and I'm seeing all these things, I'm like, there's some rumblings, not from anyone serious, but there's some rumblings that maybe this deal's gonna get done. But here we are at the end of the night, and there's no news. It's pretty crazy to think that he would even be able to play this week if he did sign. I mean, obviously they can maybe throw him out there, but at that point, you're
Yeah.
literally just getting 0 practices in and then just going to rush the passer. Yeah, not good. I would have liked to have him on the team. I do think we'll be okay generally without him. We'll at least be able to get by. But I would have felt a lot better if this had gotten done today and given us something exciting to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And Robert Saleh, in a press conference this week, it might have been either yesterday or today, when asked, said he hadn't spoken to Haasan Reddick since before training camp, but did say that, we've got plenty to rush the passer when discussing kind of this upcoming game with the 49ers. And he's right. And I think that's been our whole point. We were like, in this doomsday scenario, it's not like we were expecting him to be our Jermaine Johnson. We already have our Jermaine Johnson. We already have depth pieces that you would prefer to have a guy in front of, but with a 8-10 deep defensive line rotation, there are ways that you can get by without a guy like Haasan Reddick. He was not the main focal point of this team. He just happened to be the big move of the offseason for the Jets, basically. Outside of some of the other offensive line stuff and Mike Williams stuff, like defensively, he was the big, like, oh, cool, now we've got Haasan Reddick here. Just guessing, because here's the one thing that I would say, it would be hilarious, because we always put these shows out Thursday mornings, and then something like immediately happens. And even last week, we put out the AFC East preview pod, and the Patriots announced that Jacoby Brissett was going to start over Drake May, when that was like a point of conversation we'd had then too. So it's just like, it's always happening. Like, it would just be comical to have gotten, like you said, since March. So we're talking 6 months talking about Haasan Reddick, and then like the episode before season starts off, he signs and gets things figured out like that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. Hopefully, if you're listening,
we'll take it.
But yeah, it's just something. I mean, at this point, and really for the past couple of weeks, like you just gotta go roll with what you have and just play the games, and worry about him second. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it really just keeps lasting. Because again, just to put a bow on this, like this isn't just a wait it out and I can go sign with a new team next year. If he doesn't play in any games, his contract gets deferred to the next season. Jets still have it for a year. And then we just do this whole roundabout again. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this, like, is it just like, okay, week 1, I got my game check. I didn't get my game check, and all right, fuck it, I'll play. Like, who knows?
I think he almost just, like, to me, his bargaining chip at this point has to be, he's hoping if he truly is
good.
Yeah, that the defensive line looks bad without him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
at least they play like the 49ers. It's not like we're just gonna go like beat up on like some shitty team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's we'll see.
Yeah. Should be interesting. In a more positive news, today, or was it yesterday? Was it yesterday or today? I think it was today when we're recording this.
I'm not sure.
This week.
This week.
The days are all blending in for me.
I like wake up to and just scroll Twitter, and those all just blend together for me, So like, who knows?
These days, the last 2 weeks, I have been working an excruciating amount, and every day blends in together. But within the last 48 hours, Michael Carter has signed a 3-year, $30 and 3/4 million extension. See, my brain is also slowly deteriorating. That makes him the highest paid slot corner in all of football. We did a look ahead contract pod 2 months ago, and we talked about the importance of Michael Carter II and the importance of slot corner positions in general. The league has gotten so pass happy at this point, and matchup wise, a lot of defenses live in 4-2-5 defenses, so that slot corner position is pivotal. We have spoken about Michael Carter being one of the best slot corners in football over the last few seasons, and it's nice to see before the season gets underway, a key part of this team and the defense moving forward is going to be around for a couple more years.
Yeah, this was something I definitely wanted to see happen. I know we discussed kind of the possibility of like you can't pay everyone, and he might be a guy that they just don't want to pony up for. But to me, I mean, doing it now as opposed to waiting, it's always good to just get it done if you're going to pay a guy, save a few $1 million. And all, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the contract, but like 10 million a year, I mean, yeah, it's a decent chunk of change, but it's not like this like groundbreaking number that's like, wow, I can't believe we're gonna have 10 million a year wrapped up in Michael Carter II. I mean, this guy truly is the best, if not, maybe top two, top three slot corners in the NFL in an age where this has become so important. And these guys aren't just your third best corner, it's like this is a very important position on the field. So yeah, I'm amped that we got this done.
Yeah. To me, it's funny. I always talk about the parallels between the Colts and the Jets because I think their management runs the team very similarly. Kenny Moore has been, up until the point of a few guys, the best slot corner in football, and his big extension that he got last offseason was 3 years for 30 million. So really it's
Sure.
just like a little bit up. So they didn't have to
Yeah,
go above and beyond for this position here because at the end of the day, like, yes, you're not an outside guy. You are primarily a slot corner, but you're also one of the best at it. So I think the value is perfectly fine. I think you're lining up for a
yeah,
guy that is still young, still has good years ahead of him, and look, it's probably also one of those like what? It's a 2-year deal for like
yeah, for
19 and a
sure,
half
for
million or
sure.
something like that, but still, it's an important position in today's NFL, and if you have a good one, you keep him, and especially when the value, like, we have to eventually lose DJ Reed because we can't pay two outside corners 20 million plus
Sure.
dollars, but you can pay your slot corner 11 million a year basically, or
Yeah.
10 million a year
And
because it's not that much.
when you're thinking about the draft pick with Stiggers, like
Yeah.
it makes a lot more sense if he is going to become a starter, which obviously, that we need to see it happen on the field and whatnot. But if he was to become a starter, it makes a lot more sense for him to, kind of inherit that outside role as opposed to the slot corner.
Hmm.
So by locking up Michael Carter, you kind of shore that up. And then if you do lose DJ Reed, then you can maybe transition that to him. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Great get for the Jets.
While we're on the topic of cornerback extensions, two people that were very happy this week as well too are DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner because Patrick Surtain, who we believe that Sauce Gardner is the best cornerback in football, but when people make the argument of who else it should be, really the only name that I would ever consider is Pat Surtain. He just got a 4-year, $96 million extension. So 24 million a year is going to be the starting point for Sauce Gardner. Now, I don't believe DJ Reed will get that kind of money, but he's also happy that that is the new market for
For
cornerbacks
sure.
here.
For sure.
Sauces will start at 25 when that comes, and Pat Surtain is the reason because of that. That's a huge extension that gets done before the season starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Sauce will get his. DJ Reed's one of these guys that always, like, he's 25 years old. Like, I always think he's a little
It's
older than he
crazy.
is,
He's
but
so
yeah,
good.
he's still got another great contract. And I mean, that right there, that's what, average of like $25 million a year.
Yeah.
Um, right now, Sauce and Reed combined, is like $20,000 a year. A little less. It's 8 and 11. So that's when it just,
Jesus.
you know, that's what
It's
happens when you pay these
crazy.
big boys. But yeah,
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner for sure will get more than that. Yeah, we'll worry about that next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Well, we've got time to worry about that. Cool. That's really the biggest news and notes stuff leading up into this week. One thing that I did want to spend just a few minutes on before going into the Jets Niners game is just wrapping up any final thoughts from this offseason. It's been a relatively peaceful one outside of the Haasan Reddick situation, but we haven't really spent a ton of time just Jets specifically being like, I think they are this ranked team in the league, or the offense is this best, or I have this expectations for them this year. Like, I think we both, when we talk about the team, are generally in line with that. We think on paper top 5 roster.
Sure.
And that was something I spoke about in a video I did earlier today is like, you can't tell me that the Jets on paper don't have a top 3 roster. You just have to stop seeing it on paper. You have to see it in person. And I think
Yeah,
we
for
agree
sure.
that this is a team with super high expectations when fully healthy. So I just wanted to put a few minutes out there for like final thoughts on the team. We usually do like a betting show. I thought it'd be cool to put any bets out that we've placed on this team or interested in, just kind of corralling our final thoughts on the Jets specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my entire off-season mindset has been very much of like, this is kind of similar to last year. We have a lot of pieces in place. We think we could be good, but we just need to see it happen. And I didn't really want to let myself get past that. If we're being completely honest, though, like all of the moves we made this year, I think are like what we did last year times 5 or times 10, like
Mm-hmm.
how we feel about the offensive line this year compared to last year. Obviously we need to see the guys play together, but you just have more guys that you have confidence in. You're more confident in your depth. You're more confident in the starters. You're not hoping a guy like Mekhi Becton is going to just become this elite player. You have a guy in Tyrone Smith who is already an elite player. Examples like that, you look at the wide receiver room, Alan Lazard, a guy, I kind of like, but wasn't anything crazy. You look at
Right.
Mike Williams, another guy I like, I don't think he's top cream of the crop elite, but I think he's a great player, and I think he's a better player than Alan Lazard. I just think there's constantly these areas where, while still maybe question marks similar to last year, I think the team has just gotten better. And, outside of crazy injuries or anything like that, like I really do see this team succeeding in 2024. I think that they're going to be able to score more. The defense will be able to lock up. And they'll win some games. So, I mean, I don't know where you want to start. I'm going to start here. Ballsy prediction. A lot of people are taking it, but it's a ballsy prediction for a Jets fan. I do think that the Jets, this is the year they win the division, beat the Bills by like 1 or 2 games, maybe have the tiebreaker against them, something like that. But I just think they're going to succeed against the Bills. I think they're going to succeed against the Dolphins and the Patriots. And I just think that they're going to, like, this team coming away from the season without 10 and 11 wins is kind of like hard to see, in my opinion. So yeah, I think they're going to be able to get it done. I think they're going to be a very good team, and I think they're going to win the AFCs. I
Yeah, I
guess I
think
did talk that last week. Now that I'm
yeah,
thinking about it,
yeah,
so
but that was we glanced over it, and I think
yeah,
one thing that I was gonna say from last week, I got just annoyed hearing us all say the same
yeah,
predictions and seedings.
yeah,
Like I would expect the Jets to win the division this year. I would expect it. I would agree if you're a 7-10 team with a shaky offensive line and the worst quarterback production we've probably seen over a 2-year stretch in recent memory, with a good offensive line and with Aaron Rodgers, you should be better. You should be a
yeah,
lot better. Like
yeah.
10 wins should be the baseline expectation for this team. Like 9-8, you'd be like, man, stuff kind of did go wrong for the Jets this year. And that's a winning season.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
10-7, 11-6, that should be the range that we should be expecting this team to be in because of how talented it is.
And even if it isn't winning the division, like even if the Bills do edge us out by a game or something like that, like that line of 10, 11 wins, like you feel like this Jets team will be a playoff team, right?
Yes.
And that's obviously the goal. We're trying to end this drought, this 13, 14-year playoff drought. But yeah, going into the season, there's really nothing that would tell you otherwise. So
Hmm.
I'm feeling confident in the team. I think the main thing is that, you have an offense with any production and you're going to be able to, not only capitalize on how your defense has already been playing, but think about how many games like I'm looking at the schedule from last year, the defense wasn't completely locked down in every game.
No.
Let up 30 to the Dallas in week 2, 32 to the Bills in week 11, 34 to the Dolphins in week 12.
But even
A couple other high scoring, but like think about if you just have an offense who can take 4 minutes to punt as opposed to a 3-and-out. Like little things like that are just going to improve the way that the entire team can play and the way that they're going to be able to get wins. So yeah, I'm feeling feeling confident.
And
So,
in so many of those games that you mentioned as well too, like the offense put the defense in that position to not
100%.
to allow 30
Pick
plus
sixes.
points.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Turnovers early on. I remember in the Cowboys game, it was like a few possessions when the Jets were like on their side of the football field turning the ball over, and it's just Dallas just
Yeah.
has to walk
They're
in the
walking.
end zone afterwards. So yeah. Um Look, I'm not even gonna say like what's your Super Bowl prediction because like I think we want the Jets to do well this year. That's what this is. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If the Jets can make a run to the AFC title game, I think they have a roster that is talented enough to do so. Um, to me, you always have to worry about Kansas City in this conference. I
Yeah.
think the league not being able to get a Super Bowl last year instead of the Chiefs is absolutely insane because I think they upgraded their receiver room. I think they upgraded their offensive line. And I don't know. I think we'll just look back at like what a wasted opportunity it was for the league last year because there's a very good chance that the Chiefs just do it all again and look a lot better than they were last year.
For
So like
sure. For
when
sure.
we take a look at like total threat, it's the Chiefs to me that are like they're in our way.
Yeah. And to me, like obviously, you see guys, I don't even know, but you see the talking heads on ESPN and whatever, and they're picking the Jets to win the Super Bowl and they're picking Aaron Rodgers to be the MVP and like all this stuff. And that's great, and if that happens, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. Um, but for me, like me being confident in the Jets, like I'm not saying that they're better than the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Bills and all these other teams, but it's like that's where we should be. When you're thinking about who are these like great teams in the NFL, the Jets should be right up there with these guys. Good defense, good offense, able to just kind of make things happen. And I'll be honest, dude, like if you're setting my season goal, it's make the playoffs, like which could be a kind of low goal. And I don't want to
It
get ahead of
is.
myself, but that is like that will make me happy, And then if we lose in the first round, obviously there's some disappointment and whatnot, but like just make the playoffs, be a competitive team, and then go from there. Like I'm not going to sit here and bang the drum that the Jets are going to bring home the Super Bowl, but I just want to be in that mix with the top, 8 teams in the league.
Yeah, and I think there's a chance to be. Like I said, in the AFC, I have questions about everybody else. Like I do. Like the Bills, I think they lost a ton of pieces, and they even acknowledge that it's a retool year for themselves. And so
For sure.
Josh will get them to the playoffs, but can they keep up with other teams? It depends on Josh. Baltimore. I'm like kind of over Baltimore in the playoffs if they ever get down. Like to me, they're a team that when there's a deficit in the fourth quarter, I just don't see them making the plays offensively in the passing game to get things done. That's not a slight on Lamar necessarily, but we've seen it plenty of times. They protect leads, awesome, but once their backs are up against the wall, they really struggle to pull themselves out of it. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow has a very serious wrist injury, and I don't think enough people talk about it. It was an unprecedented wrist injury, and it's like one of those things that it give me one game and I'll feel totally fine about it. Like if I see him play a Sunday game, I'll be like, cool. But people like in the medical field have been like, we've never seen an injury like this to somebody's throwing wrist ever. And so if he's not great, then there's big question marks. Those to me are the big players in the AFC. So to me, the Jets are still in that crop. And that's just a crop that's, look, you're just below Kansas City at that point. So the expectation should be the playoffs. And from there, it's a crazy conference. Anything can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Any bets that you place that you like or anything that you see that you like? I've got a couple, but
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't placed any. Didn't do too well with my NFL futures last year. But maybe we'll make a couple as we head up to the season here. I mean, I got a day to do it really before I got to wait a week. But I mean, like everything we just said, I like over 9.5 wins. I don't know what that line is at anymore, but I think that's a fine bet.
up for you.
The only other interesting one I want to make, like, obviously, if you want to take, Garrett Wilson receiving yards, Breece Hall rushing yards, like I'm going to be on board for any of that. A sneaky one, I think, is Breece Hall to lead the league in rushing. It's like plus 1,000 is what I just saw, 10 to win 100. Could be just something to throw on. You might get it. I think he's gonna have a monster year. And that's one of those that just comes down to like which running back was able to play, 16 games and be elite at it. Like him or McCaffrey or Bijan or a couple other guys could all hit that number.
Right.
But I think he could get that done. So those are a few.
9.5 is heavily juiced right now, minus 155. So
I was
that's
gonna
it's a
say
beefy number.
most people are.
And now you've got the 10.5 at plus 115, so that's even a little bit riskier. I like the Brees. It's funny, I actually have a leading rushing thing to tell you in just a second. One thing that I love, and I'm going back to it because I missed out on it a year ago. But Garrett Wilson to lead the league in receptions at plus 1,300. He's the fifth best odds behind CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill. Like when Devontae Adams was Aaron Rodgers' number one wide receiver, he led the league in receptions for like 2 or 3 years straight. Like I think
I
there
might
are
take it
other
right now.
options. I think there are other options on the offense. Sure. But I think when you have a guy that's like that, Aaron Rodgers understands the importance of force feeding the football to him. I think the offense will be dialed up and based around Garrett Wilson as far as the passing game goes. He can beat you in so many different ways, the perfect route tree. I just think that sets up to be a high volume type guy. And then funny enough, I placed this one. Let me see how long ago I placed it. On August 18th. So really not too long ago, a few weeks ago. I put $20 on Braylon Allen most regular season rookie rushing yards. So out of all the rookie running backs, I took him to have the most yards. Now again, that does seem kind of shaky because you're like, well, does that mean Breece Hall gets hurt? And
Right.
you
I
know,
was kind of hoping for that one.
yeah, but I'm not hoping for that. But also, like these rookie running backs. When you think about the rookie running back class, Jonathan Brooks is missing at least the first 4 games with an ACL injury. Trey Benson is splitting carries with James Conner. Like there is no feature rookie running back, so you're almost like
closest guy to that.
Exactly, and people hate on Chuba Hubbard. He's got something there. Like I don't think he's gonna totally just disappear when Jonathan Brooks comes back. So I don't know, at plus 1,600, $20 to win 340. I don't hate it. So I took that a few weeks ago. I agree on the wins. I feel I got way more comfortable over the last few years just laying the juice on heavy lines. Like I've placed a bunch of like minus 150s, minus 160s this offseason. So I feel good with that. And then just for the fun of it, take your flyers on Rodgers MVP, take your flyers on Jets Super Bowl. Like it's just
comeback player of the year. He's probably like what, like
let me take a look.
150. That's one. I mean, there's a few guys there's that could win that, but it does
Plus
seem
140.
like it does seem like Rodgers is if he just has like an okay year
right
after missing the whole season.
If he has an Aaron Rodgers year, if he's just like 80% of what he has been, that's a lot.
If he throws like 28 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, like that's probably enough to get that done. So yeah, those are good.
Nice.
You can tell that we like the Jets. I don't bet on Jets unders ever. Other than game unders.
I was gonna say I bet on game unders all the time for the New York Jets.
They're prop unders,
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Teddy, if we've got nothing else, no other thoughts, I think we can go over and talk about this Monday Night Football game.
This
very exciting. Big one.
This is a big one.
Just as last year was when the Jets played the Bills on Monday night. The Jets traveling to San Francisco. Robert Saleh returning to his home grounds for what will be the first time in his head coaching career. 2 teams that I think are all the best in football. I think the Jets are the 5th best team in football. I think the 49ers are the 3rd best team in football. So you've got the best of the best. We are going to learn what the Jets really are in week 1. The lines right now, San Francisco is 4.5-point favorites. The over-under is at 43.5. So, we laugh all the time about these games where, you've got your low total points. 43.5 isn't awful. I remember at points of last regular season where we were getting Jets lines at like 39.5 and the under was still hitting clean. But you also have 2 teams with very talented offenses. I mean, this is collectively the talent on both of these rosters is absolutely insane. Just to speak a little bit about the 49ers, I'm sure everybody knows, but things are going right for them all of a sudden. A month ago, their franchise left tackle and the best left tackle in football was nowhere to be seen. Brandon Ayuk was requesting trades. Christian McCaffrey was dealing with a leg injury in preseason. All of that is fixed. Trent Williams is officially back. Brandon Ayuk came back recently. Christian McCaffrey just started practicing again this week. It appears as though the 49ers are going to be
fully
all
tooled.
set. Yeah, exactly. The only thing you can think of really is missing their rookie wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall, who unfortunately was shot
That's a
over the
crazy
weekend.
story. The
Crazy
shot.
story. Crazy.
And the bullet went through his entire body and just missed all the organs.
And there's a chance that he just plays this year. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, freaking Brian Robinson, these guys coming back from gunshot wounds.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
The video of him walking
to
to the ambulance is just like, wait, you tell me he got shot?
Yeah,
he seems fine.
It's wild.
So he's really the only missing piece for this 49ers team heading into this week. One other thing I'd say with the 49ers before we get started, comparison to last year. Last year, they were in the Super Bowl, but despite all of their successes, they really struggled defensively. And the biggest change they made in the offseason was bringing in a new defensive coordinator. I should have pulled up the guy's name right here, but I'll get this for you in 1 second. His name is Nick Sorensen. He is now taking on the defensive coordinator role after being the passing game Nichols cornerback for the 49ers. So they promoted from within. Steve Wilkes was fired after one year with the 49ers last season. That was, of course, because D'Amico Ryans went to the Texans. Before D'Amico, Robert Salah, here we are. So there is an expectation that the 49ers will be better this upcoming season on defense. But that's just a lot of talk about San Francisco. General thoughts on this game? Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, when you look at this game, I think the correct thing to think, right, is because there was all this, everything you just said, all this drama about is CMC going to be there? Is Ayuk going to be there? Is Trent Williams going to be there? I think the correct thing to think when you look at this Jets 49ers game, week 1, you say, hey, we come out hot. We get one of the better teams in the NFL in the Super Bowl last year. And right away, week 1, we get to test ourselves and play this great team at full strength and see how we do, and if we can get a win, that would be insane. And you just got to kind of like relish in the challenge of it. There is part of me that's like, God damn it, why does every opening season, like last year, it's like the Bills, like, which we did win, but whatever. But this year it's the Niners. And to me, this is, it's a bit of a litmus test for the Jets, right? Can the Jets compete with a team like the 49ers? I certainly don't think they need to win this to define their season. But it is this opportunity to right away go up against a great team, and try to catch them by surprise a little bit and just say, hey, we're fucking here. And, we're going to try to win this game. Will that happen? I don't know. When I think about this game, surprisingly, the first thing I think about is kind of what's been most established for us, and that's our defense. Kind of like I was saying before, the Jets defense is elite, is phenomenal, can play with anyone. But there are these instances, whether from how the offense was playing or whatnot, but there are these instances of, teams can put up 30 points on the Jets defense last year. It happened a few times. That's kind of my number one. Like, are we going to be able to hold this good San Francisco's team to, 17, 20, 23 points, somewhere in that range? And then obviously you flip the script and you think about how's this offense going to perform after all these years of turmoil. Hopefully we can get Aaron Rodgers out there for a full game and really see what this is going to look like and how we're going to be able to move the ball. And I think that 100% it really does start with how does our O-line look against their D-line. I mean, they got studs over there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nick Bosa's on their team.
Yeah. The front line right now, Nick Bosa, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, and Leonard Floyd. So it's a good group.
It's a good group. And they have, other good players on that full defense. We're going to learn a lot about the Jets. And obviously teams don't look the way that they do in, week 14, 15, 16 that they do in week 1 always. But right off the bat, we're getting this test. And if the Jets can hang around with the 49ers, it'll confirm a lot of, the excitement that I have for the year.
Yep, I totally agree. I think the biggest thing for me is this 49ers offensive line is probably the worst it's been in a few years. Obviously, Trent Williams is like the best left tackle in football, and there's a huge gap between him and the next guy. But right now, you're projected, a bunch of journeymen around next to him. Aaron Banks at left guard. You're not really too worried about left guard, maybe if you've got Trent Williams there, but Jake Brendel has really been a journeyman for the 49ers here. They are starting a rookie at right guard, a third-round pick, Dominic Pooney, which I believe was out of Kansas. And then a guy here, a fifth-round pick from the 2020 draft at right tackle, Colton McKivitz.
Nice.
PFF projects that it is the 24th best offensive line in football, which if you're hearing that, and Robert Saleh is hearing that, and Quinnen Williams is hearing that, you're salivating, because what is great for the Jets, this defensive line. So to me, that is almost the breaking point here. Now, Kyle Shanahan will be going into this game knowing that his offensive line is maybe not all that great. And so what will it be? It will be a ton of quick passes out to McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel getting into space. You're not going to have the deep shots to Ayuk. You're not going to have the seams over the middle to Kittle here. There won't be enough time for that. It is going to be in the middle to the Kittle. Exactly. Kittle in the middle. So it's going to be a lot of that quick pass action that you're going to see from them offensively. And Kyle knows how to dial up an offense just as good as anybody. He's probably the best in football right now. So it's not to say that it will be this huge advantage for the Jets, but that's where I'm looking at this game. Like, if the Jets are going to go into San Francisco and win, it is going to be because the offensive line for the 49ers had no chance going up against the Jets.
Sure. Yeah, and they have all the pieces to be able to do it. I wish I started with this. The number one thing I'm looking forward to in this game is Aaron Rodgers completing a pass. I would love to see a completed pass with Aaron Rodgers as a Jet. Last year was 0 for 1. I lost my Aaron Rodgers future for his over of passing yards because it would only not void if he threw for 0 attempts. He threw for 1 attempt. But yeah, this will be a great game. There's a lot of great players, right? I mean, you literally just list names, and you have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Breece Hall, CMC, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy. Like, there is a ton of playmakers on this field, and that's just the offensive sides. So yeah, dude. I mean, can we get into our predictions? Like, I'm dying to know because I got some thoughts, but I want to hear what you say first.
I think I'm going to take the Jets to win here, 20-17. I think that's my final prediction. I think it will not be the highest scoring affair. I think the Jets defense, when I think of what's going to work, I guess, continuity to me screams the most, is like, okay, week 1, new season. And you see this across college football. You see it across the pros. Like, in that first month, what is your most stable unit? That is what's going to feel like it's not the beginning of the season. So to me, the Jets defense has the most continuity there. You just are replacing Bryce Huff with a couple of guys that are maybe more journeymen or have already been there. So to me, the defense for the Jets is going to be the most capable unit on the field, because offensively, like I said, yes, you're getting the skill players back for the 49ers, but you've got a very new offensive line here. I think there might be 3 starters that are new that weren't there last year. And defensively, you've got a bunch of new guys up front as well, too. The 49ers did lose Eric Armstead to Jacksonville. They do have a few guys still banged up. There was a linebacker, I think, that got hurt in the Super Bowl that I don't believe is fully back yet. But either way, you've got guys on this defense that are new to the system. You bring in Leonard Floyd from Buffalo. You bring in Javon Hargrave from Philadelphia. It is not a collective unit that is, was in the Super Bowl last year. You have a few guys that are new to the organization and will take some time to figure things out. Now you have to apply that same thing to the Jets offense. As much as I want the Jets to come out here and look awesome, it is a very new offensive line that has not spent too much time against other people in live competition playing as a unit. So will I expect it to be perfect up front? No, especially when, like I said, it's not like you have a bad defensive line here. There's talented names here for the 49ers. So I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I would say I give the Jets the slight edge because I think their defense will be the biggest and most effective unit on the field that day. But yeah, I do think the Jets can go in here and look, it's a huge statement game. The Jets have more to prove in this game than the 49ers do. The 49ers have been on this run of NFC title game, Super Bowl, NFC title game, Super Bowl. they are an established team. The Jets are the ones that have something to prove here. And now that doesn't mean
Right.
that the 49ers are going to just walk through this game and not give it any attention. But I think there's a point of emphasis here for the Jets this year that you want to start the season off right. You don't want to start with a loss here.
Right. If the Jets lose, the season is certainly not over, and you have winnable games
No.
coming up. But
Yeah.
it does add that week of like uncertainty of like, are they going to figure this out? You know, are we going to see a team that's able to put it all together and win the following week? Like those. Whereas with the 49ers, if they lose, it's like, okay, they'll probably figure it out because we've seen it happen before. With the Jets, it's all you have to see it. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to see it. So yeah, I've gone back and forth on this a few times. I thought about, shocking the listeners
You've
and
never
taking
done it.
San Francisco. Literally. Well, I think I have done it a few times.
You did at the end of last
whenever
season.
whenever the Jets really kill me, I'll take
At the
them
end
to
of
lose
last
the
season,
next
you
week.
definitely
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
But yeah, they, the little things, right? Like our D line against their offensive line that isn't as good as, maybe they've been in past years. Their defense, is solid, but we have Aaron Rodgers. Like those little things are just giving me confidence. And while I agree with you, I think generally it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be maybe a bit ugly at times, especially in the beginning. Just think back to the one drive we saw of Rodgers. Like things didn't click right away. It's not like
No.
everything was working perfectly. With that said, I think that the Jets have an elevated offense, and I think that Aaron Rodgers, with every fiber in his being, wants to go out and throw for 3 touchdowns, and 300 yards, and just ball out, and maybe that's not what the game plan is going to require, but I can see him really just trying to lock in and win this game. I'm going to pick the Jets 27-17. If you're a betting man, that's half a point over what the over-under is set at, so I apologize for that. I think the Jets kick 2 field goals, score 3 touchdowns, look pretty competent. And I don't know. I think regardless of the 49ers skill positions, I think the Jets defense is going to be able to hunker down on them. And I think that benefit of, having an offense that can stay on the field, not requiring your defense to make every single play, be put in short yardage and stuff like that. Like, I think the Jets can get it done. I think 27-17. Hopefully we start this year 1-0 against a great team.
Yeah. This would be the biggest statement. This would be a bigger statement win than if Rodgers was healthy last year and beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. Like
Sure.
this is a much bigger one because you're not just talking divisional games always get messy. You always have that weird divisional upset. To go in and take this team that has been on the run of always being in the NFC title game, making 2 appearances in the Super Bowl the last few years, this is the biggest statement you could make. And you got the storylines too, real quick. Like Saleh being the former defensive coordinator there.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers growing up a big 49ers fan and them choosing Alex Smith over him. Like that has been a storyline throughout all of the Green Bay and San Francisco matchups. Now you've got that mixed in with Saleh. It's a perfect storyline game. It's a perfect statement win that they could go out and get.
I also think like when you look at the Jets schedule, it's pretty easy to, pick wins against teams that should be worse than them and to pick losses but against good teams and still end up with the Jets being, 11-6, 10-7, something like that. Like, say they lose to San Francisco, they drop 1 to Buffalo, drop 1 to Miami, maybe lose to the Rams. Like that's 4 losses. And that's like the best teams that we play, so to come out and get a win week 1 against potentially the best team on your schedule, when you're just looking at it at the beginning of the season, in the Super Bowl last year, that would be unbelievable. And I really do think they can get it done. I think the Jets offensive line, I have a lot more confidence in. I've said it. The skill positions I have confidence in. When Breece Hall doesn't have to be on the field, we're going to have a guy like Braylon Allen, who is a talented running back, a very solid running back. You look at the defense, you think the safeties got better. The one place you're a little worried is, what's our second starting edge look like and what's our D-line depth. And at the end of the day, I think that when you mix together the lockdown coverage that the Jets have and the ability of their secondary with a coach like Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich, who have just, been monsters at getting, their D-line to play above, maybe how well they should. I don't know. I got a lot of confidence going into this game.
Yeah, we should. It's deserved. This has all been building up the last few years for where we're just like screaming, like we know this team is good.
I
We
know.
know it's good. And this is hopefully the year where we finally get
How
to.
are the 49ers cornerbacks?
They are starting Trevarius Ward, who's a good cornerback, although he just came over from Kansas City last year, correct? I think so. And then they have a guy, Isaac Yiadom, who I am not familiar with. He was formerly with the New Orleans Saints.
With your game.
I will say that they brought in Rock Yassin, former first-round pick for the Indianapolis Colts.
Ward has been on the last 2 years, just so you know.
Okay, but he was on the Chiefs before?
But he was on the Chiefs before that.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking of Jarius Sneed.
Yeah,
went to the Chiefs. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really do like call me dumb. I really see Garrett Wilson getting like a touchdown and 80+ yards. I really do see Breece Hall running all over the place. Like, I really do see the offensive line succeeding. And is everything going to look perfect week 1? No, but I think that goes both ways. So yeah, here we are. Episode 1, first game preview, and I'm confident in the Jets. What the hell else is
Picking
new?
the Jets. I'm here right alongside you. It is going to be a fun opening week of the NFL, a fun Monday night game to close us out. Hopefully we come back in a great mood. Last time we recorded after a Monday night show, we were very depressed. It was the darkest day of our lives.
I know. After a win, too, I remember the next day my dad being like, I listen to your podcast. Like, I get that you're sad, but like, don't you think you're a little too sad?
I'm
think
like,
so. No, Dad.
I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. Like, like you saw how the season went after that point. Like, it was very warranted.
Let's just be realistic here. Like, it's been a year. It's been 51 weeks since the highest of highs watching Aaron Rodgers run out with the American flag. The MetLife looks crazier than I've ever seen it before, and it was all just taken away from us in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Let's all knock on wood together here. But yeah, I mean, let's get through week 1 with a healthy quarterback. See what happens from there.
Yeah, and we'll go from there. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Keeping Up with the New York Jets. You can follow us on our socials at KUWTNYJ. Teddy at Teddy Huncho. I am at Spring Blake. We love you. We appreciate you. We're so excited that football is back, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.